welcome. Welcome, revelers. This is Off the Rails, Right versus Left, the podcast that we do because we think the left is evil. I'm Rob B.
And I'm Brad Lee.
And I'm Brian G.
And we are Off the Rails, Right versus Left. Again, we're doing this show because we think everybody needs to know that the left is evil.
Classic.
Welcome, revelers from the Off the Rails Nation. How's it going? So, anyway, it's a great Wednesday night again, and man, has there been shit going on all over the country. Okay, so we're like another pedophile Democrat pops up, but considering the fact that they're working so hard to get pedophiles labeled as minor attracted persons, it's obvious they're all pedophiles, a la their close relationship with, what was that dude that Hillary took out? What was his name? I forget.
Epstein?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that Epstein guy she killed. Yeah, that's the one. Anyway, that allegedly committed suicide. Anyway, so got another example of that kind of activity with a mayor getting caught with kiddie porn, and you ain't gonna believe who his buddy is. Trump talked at CPAC, which isn't a shock, but Tulsi Gabbard also talked at CPAC. So the only thing conservative about her is the fact that she actually served her country. So that's kind of shocking.
The thing is she didn't change though. Her views and stuff didn't change.
I know. I mean, that's my point. She's at CPAC now because
that's what I'm trying to say. Is that,
so
the reason that she's there at CPAC is because of the Democrats and the lane that they chose to take.
Yeah, and she'll actually, when I play the clip, she actually talks about that too. We also got like an aerial, what do you call it, night vision, photograph of the army of Antifa that's supposedly not an organization yet can put together hundreds of people that challenge the police, including people from Canada and France. So interesting. And then of course, I like the work Tucker's doing. Like I said, not a huge Tucker fan, but he's got the shit stories sometimes, and I'm so glad that fucking Mitch McConnell gave him the tapes. But it's also kind of funny
Mitch McConnell didn't do shit. It was Kevin McCarthy.
Kevin McCarthy, that's the one. Yeah, Mitch McConnell's the one that looks like a vagina head, right? Or vagina neck, turkey waddle.
Turtle. Yeah, he's the one that keeps fucking exotic cats and feeds them cocaine in South Africa.
Are you fucking serious? That's crazy.
No, not Mitch McConnell, but I did see something with a cocaine cat that was on the Daily.
I don't know. They have that movie out, Cocaine Bear. Thinking.
This is Cocaine Cat. Cincinnati Zoo takes in African serval found with cocaine in its system after owner was arrested. So this guy kept this fucking serval cat and was fucking feeding it cocaine. What the fuck?
That's crazy. You know the one that I could totally see doing that. It shocks me that we're not talking about Hunter Biden or Mike Tyson. I'm just saying.
Right.
But a serval cat, that's actually like the domesticated version of the cat, right?
I don't know. I didn't read into it. It looks like a fucking leopard. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know what a serval is.
Yeah, I think it's one of those designer cats. Anyway. So yeah, shit going on. Before we dig into the meat of it all, make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe. Feel free to chat with us online. Last really cool. Neither me or Brian really agreed with anything that the person that was chatting with us had to say, but it wasn't too bad talking with them. Of course, I invited them to shoot us an email, and we get them back on the show so they can actually participate with us, and they ran like a cowardly bitch. But like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell so it screams at you when we're on, and make sure that you're sharing us, because we are like...
Every time you hit that transgender ideology bell, it'll go off and the transgender ideology dies every time it goes off. Just so you know.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So what do we want to start with? Oh yeah. Let's go ahead.
Maryland arrested on 56 child pornography related charges. The mayor of College Park, Maryland, Patrick Wojahn, was arrested Thursday on 56 child pornography possession and distribution charges. He's a gay activist, 47-year-old gay activist, Democrat, faces 40 counts of possession. It's hard to even read this, I'll be honest. It's so disgusting. It's vomit-inducing, but it's real. So if you don't have the stomach for this, then I apologize. Possession of exploitive child material and 16 counts of distribution of exploitive child material, a press release from the Prince George County Police Department said.
Okay, so did that play okay on your end?
It wasn't terrible.
Can you hear me?
It didn't really make a whole lot of sense. I mean, they were just talking about
okay.
Buttigieg's mayor friend. All the counts of child pornography that he had.
So, well, yeah, I mean that was it, and that was the part that was like blowing me away about this. So first we had this the transgender lingerie. Then we got old Mayor Pete here, like totally buddy with this clown. Like, I mean, they're both small town mayors, so it's not like either one of them has any sort of national connection for it to explain why they're gay. And, well, this guy's a pedo, so it makes you wonder about Mayor Pete, because, you know, pedos of a feather flock together, if you will. No, pedos of a feather.
Flock together.
I said it to... Yeah, but I was calling them pedos, so... Anyways, yeah, I meant it how I said it. So, anyways, so that was that one, so, like... And here's the, like, funny thing, like, really the only place that I was, like, seeing that was actually with Charlie Kirk covering it on his podcast. So,
I heard some people talk.
I have a question. Yeah, but don't you think if that was like I don't know, conservative, that it'd be everywhere?
Yeah, you would think. But I don't know.
Well,
Pete Buttigieg,
considering every
Pete Buttigieg is like a fucking easy target, though. So.
Well, everything that they've got conservatives, what I'm not talking about.
I just don't think that conservatives care much about what Buttigieg has to say about anything, or the people that he hangs out with. That's kind of like what they expect from this administration, the freaky sex crap. Like, you got this guy who's stealing famous dress designers' dresses and then posting it on Instagram and shit.
Well, that actually gets right to, like, the point of, if this was a conservative, it'd be all over the place. Sure. But Trump said that, Trump said that the next thing you know, that he was accused of having incestual affairs, and then we fast forward and it's Joe there. But of course they won't report that. It was just in her. You follow? Like, I mean, let's face it, we don't expect it. It's just crazy how absolutely ridiculous, way off the left side of that's not even left. That's just like I'd say that no.
You keep bringing
Anyway, so yeah, I'm probably in a bad. You're welcome to like ramble and run your mouth, or I can just do the up to the next one that I had queued up here. I had the weird, but we can at least hear Trump.
Instead of spending hundreds of billions of dollars to defend the borders of distant foreign countries, under my leadership, we will defend our borders first. Three years ago, we had the safest border in the history of our country, and I will quickly do that again. As you know, I built hundreds of miles of wall and completed that task as promised. And then I began to add even more in areas that seemed to be allowing a lot of people to come in. So we're going to do another 200 miles of wall. And it could have been done and completed in 3 weeks, but the Biden administration said they weren't going to do it. And in fact, the wall was sitting there waiting to be installed, the easiest part. And Biden, they took it away so that Texas and Arizona couldn't use it. Texas and Arizona said, could we use that wall? We'll finish it right up. And they said no. And they actually took it away and they hid it. They put it in a hiding area, which of course was revealed pretty quickly. All you have to do is send the...
Okay, so the crazy that he was talking about there, like I knew that they like, and that they weren't gonna let Texas and Arizona do it. They like literally hid the shit. Like you can't play with our toys. Can you hear me?
Not really. You keep breaking up, man. So, anyways, I don't know what he was talking about because I'm sure you guys had the same problem I was having listening to what he had to say. I don't really see anything interesting in the news lately. Just the January 6th stuff that we already knew was just a bunch of BS, and they portrayed it totally wrong. John Fetterman, that guy. Oh my God. Okay, Pennsylvania voted a dead man, elected a dead man in their elections. And for the Senate, they elected a vegetable who had a stroke in the middle of his campaign and couldn't string a sentence together. Now they're using him as a puppet. They're just like taking pictures of him and he looks terrible. Like he shouldn't. Way to go, Pennsylvania, is all I have to say about that. But he's disgustingly ill. So I don't know if you guys heard about what Hershey is doing. They've launched their campaign for Women's Month. You know, their thing is now her, she for like pronouns for like, you know, normal people. So Jeremy from the Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring, decided that he was going to become a chocolatier, and he decided that he was going to, you know, fight Hershey's because they decided they wanted to go woke. And when you go woke, what happens? You go broke.
Oh,
so
you're talking
Jeremy,
about Jeremy
apparently,
Chocolate, right?
Yeah, apparently Jeremy Boring of the Daily Wire, this God King, lowercase God King Jeremy Boring, decided that he was going to launch a chocolate bar company. And 3 days after he launched it, he came up, his chocolate bars are he, she, and she, her, and he, him. And one of them.
Yeah.
So
I think Milton Hershey would be rolling over in his grave.
Oh, absolutely. But anyways, so within 3 days, they sold 500,000 chocolate bars.
That is insane.
This guy who went who went to from making a podcast in a garage to starting a whole company for just, conservative or, non-biased news information.
Well, no, okay, it's biased. It's conservative. Like, there's no problem with that, but it is biased.
Well, because Jeremy doesn't call himself a conservative. He considers himself a libertarian. But yeah, the Daily Wire is mainly biased towards the conservative side. You're right.
Well,
But
so
he launched this.
yeah.
He launched this movement, and then he started selling razors, and then he started selling. Well, he started making movies, and then he started selling razors, and then he started selling chocolate bars. Is there anything that these woke companies won't do to keep him from making money? They're just making him money.
Yeah, and he's like, well, and you left out of that like, to combat Disney and their woke bullshit, they're starting to create children's content and movies.
And then they added.
Yeah, but I mean,
then they added Jordan Peterson, and that was awesome. Young men are looking to him.
yeah, I still can't believe what the fucking Canadian government's trying to do to him.
Oh yeah, I know that.
They're like, yeah. So anybody who doesn't know about it, I mean, I don't know, like, who watches how much, but like, literally, there's Jordan Peterson, probably one of the most well-known psychologists in the world, because he's not nice. Some people complained about him that were not his patients, and so the Board of Psychiatry is trying to send him to social media training, or they're going to take away his license. That's crazy.
I don't think it, dude. I don't think it was. Okay, so I think what they took for being not nice was the truth.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's, well, because, according to the left, words are violence, and pushing back against the ridiculous bullshit. Well, and they're always calling him like a misogynist because he says that this, like, feminizing and demasculinization of men is horrible for their mental health, which is why men have, like, skyrocketing rates of suicide right now.
Right.
So, and then, of course, all these kids that are being butchered and mutilating have rising suicide rates too. So, yeah, and like, this guy's like actually out here trying to help people, and like 2 complaints were filed with the Canadian board from people that weren't even his patients, and they're trying to get him removed. So yeah, absolutely fucking amazing that Jeremy is making sure that he has a platform over there at the Daily Wire. And from everything Jordan said, he has like 100% complete control. And like, yeah, I just kind of wonder with him, because like when the social media goes after him, they're like always going after him about message, but he doesn't really say a whole lot of shit that's like obvious, like YouTube banning shit, but YouTube would do it anyways because it pushes against their narrative.
Right.
So I wonder how Daily Wire will handle that. I just hope like content creators start suing them into the ground, because here's the thing. Yeah, not everybody's going to have millions and millions of dollars to go on multi-year crusades against big YouTube and their legal department. But if thousands and thousands of creators are suing them, even using like, the little $500 filing and like pushing them for discovery, they still have to pay lawyers for that. So if each creator that YouTube fucks over goes after them, they're still going to be paying like $500 to $1,000 an hour for all these high-priced lawyers. Meanwhile, the person who's filing the case, it's not frivolous if they didn't deplatform. They can't say that it's frivolous because it's not. They're trying to get their platform reinstated. You know what I mean? So ultimately, you can bog them down in legal fees until they like change course. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah.
Because
I think we're gonna see a big drop in YouTube and a big giant leap in Rumble. And I'm gonna tell you why I think that. Steven Crowder just announced he had a deal with Rumble, which I thought he was gonna have from the beginning. I didn't think that the Blaze was gonna get him. I didn't think Daily Wire was gonna get him. And I think that he knew that he wasn't gonna go to Daily Wire. That's why when he got the Daily Wire contract, he was like, look, for the future, take me out of it. It's not going to be a good fit for me to work for you guys. I'm not going to do it. Because the only way that I would do it is if you got rid of these big tech penalties for the new up and coming people. And they're like, we can't do that. We're not going to guarantee that. They need to build their way up, which I would agree with Jeremy on that. And I'm not against the Daily Wire. And I'm not against Steven Crowder because I love both of them. They're both doing great, awesome work. I just like Steven Crowder's content. I don't know.
Crowder's a comedic genius. I like
Steven Crowder a lot. He's hilarious. When he's doing his weekly shows, he's cracking my ass up. But he has a bigger following than Ben Shapiro. And Ben Shapiro even said that. So for him to to do a deal with Rumble, and now he's going to do the 4 shows a week plus one additional show on Friday. So we're going to get an additional show plus all the same Mug Club content, which I think is just fantastic. But the thing with Rumble is Rumble has to has to be a free speech platform, because if it's not, then it's going to lose its users. Whereas YouTube, they can do whatever they want because basically they started the market. And the reason they needed Rumble and the reason Rumble got so big was because they guaranteed that you could have free speech and you wouldn't get kicked off and you wouldn't get censored. Just like when the government of Italy or France? It was France said Rumble had to censor its people, or they didn't want it. They said no, we're not going to do that. We're a free speech platform. If you don't like it, we won't do business in your country.
Right. Well, and then all of those things, there's ways around them.
They wanted them to kick RT off as well, and Rumble said no. It's a free speech platform. We don't do that.
Yeah, well, people in the U.S. don't realize that most European countries don't have free speech.
Yeah, no, I know.
Like,
nobody gets that.
We are so amazing that we have free speech. We have the guaranteed right to bear arms. We have our entire Bill of Rights. Basically, no other country has them. So
let's take Canada for instance. Okay, we could go to Canada, right? If you spit on the sidewalk in Canada, I mean, this is a long time ago when I went there. You could get in trouble for spitting on the sidewalk in Canada because it's disrespectful to the country. It's like spitting on their country, spitting on the ground in Canada.
Wow, you
go to Mexico and you can fucking spit, shit, piss, whatever.
I think that we just have we just got a chatbot advertisement.
For what? Oh.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Nah, I'm cool. We don't need any chatbot advertising.
All right.
Anyway, yeah, thanks for offering us chatbots, but no thank you. So, anyway, did I play all the... Oh, yeah, Tulsi Gabbard. Did I play the Tulsi Gabbard video?
No, you didn't play Tulsi yet.
Okay, so, I also got... And this is the crazy thing to me about Tulsi Gabbard. Beyond the fact that she went and fought for our country post 9/11, nothing about this woman is what I would consider traditionally conservative. Even being a libertarian and being a little more liberal socially, primarily just because I don't think it's any of the government's business. She now goes to CPAC instead of going to the like liberal like conventions. This is crazy. But she had some good shit to say.
We are facing great challenges in our country. Now, for me, 20 years ago, I joined the Democratic Party because I was inspired by Democrats who took a stand for peace, who protested against the Vietnam War. I was inspired by leaders in my home state of Hawaii who fought for plantation workers who were being abused and exploited by their wealthy landowners. I was inspired by leaders like Martin Luther King, JFK, and I was drawn to the ideals of the Democratic Party at that time that welcomed all people from different backgrounds and views, that stood up and fought for working men and women, fought for the little guy, and that actually took a stand for free speech, for civil liberties. Now, as I stand here before you today, I am no longer a Democrat. Because I could not in good conscience remain in a party that's under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers led by the queen of warmongers herself, Hillary Clinton, and embodied by President Joe Biden today, leaders who are driven by cowardly wokeness. I love this country and have taken an oath twice to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, both as a soldier who enlisted because of the terrorist attacks on 9/11, as well as a member of Congress, where I served for 8 years on the Armed Services and Foreign Affairs committees. Now, today's Democratic Party is actively working to undermine our God-given rights and freedoms enshrined in the Constitution.
I think that's a good place to stop it. Because the point is perfect. They are actively working to undermine our God-given rights.
Mm-hmm.
So our freedoms, our protections, our safety, everything, they're working like against it. Like, it's absolutely insane. So like the Cop City, like we talked about it like a couple weeks ago when they had that little shootout with the cops and the cop was injured and one of them got killed.
Yeah, they had riots.
So yeah, so did you see what was going on there most recently?
Oh, I heard there was fucking. It didn't look peaceful.
Yeah, they were like firebombing and using like mortars. Like they kept saying it's fireworks, but it's like mortars, the mortar fireworks.
Right.
And pointing them at the cops and launching mortars at the cops. So let's be clear about what fireworks are. Fireworks are fucking explosives.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they are used a lot of. Yeah, and a lot of times when countries would use them as part of their celebrations, it was like the show of strength that they had all this gunpowder to waste, just blowing it off in the air. So, like, they're genuinely using gunpowder to attack these people with mortars. So it's like insane.
It's lethal weapons, man.
Yeah, and you know, you always hear the liberals saying like, Antifa isn't an organization, it doesn't exist, blah, blah, blah. Really? Well, you served in the military, Brad.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that look like a formation with a wedge point to be able to march through enemy defensive line down the middle there?
Well, it kind of looks like organized chaos. That's not something that you would see from any kind of good military.
Oh, nobody said good.
That's, I mean, basically, you could kill like 90% of them, like just by fucking throwing a fucking grenade into the middle of it.
Right, but they're assuming, of course, that the police want.
We got that bunch up here in the top right.
Yeah, but what? Okay, so you got them coming in. You got them coming in from both sides, and then there where they've got like kind of the triangle there.
Yeah.
Like if the police move in, like that triangle, if they're able to hold that formation, is going to break the line of the police. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's actually kind of like a good wedge maneuver, or if they're getting ready to move forward. I mean, this isn't actually video; it's just a still picture, but it still shows this is a lot of people. This is organization, and I think that they've arrested taken into custody like 60 people because some of them they're capturing foreigners that are here attacking police officers. So that's kind of like absolutely nuts that it's like at that level now. Do you listen to Tim Pool at all?
No, not really.
So he's been wobbling like back and forth on whether or not he thinks that there's going to be a civil war. And he's pretty much these days, he's full on like the Civil War started. It's been underway. And like some of what he was talking about is like Americans have the wrong idea of what a civil war looks like because of the way our Civil War worked. Because our Civil War it actually wasn't a civil war. It was an attempted revolutionary war.
Mm-hmm.
So they like drew a political boundary and then tried to take it. And then the funny thing is, if it wasn't for the fact that all the South wanted was to be left alone, like early on in the war, they would have won the Civil War. The South would have won. Like they outclassed the North. They had better weapons than the North. Like absolutely
from Europe.
Yeah. So and then the Trent Affair kind of like ended the foreign support for the South. But literally though, like they had the chance. They like could have like invaded Washington and like captured the government and like ended it, but they didn't because they just wanted to be left alone. So they just kind of respected the boundaries that they set out as being the Confederate States of the U.S. And at that point, the North, the Union, the federal government invaded the South to reassert control. So we had a very clear north-south line. That doesn't happen very often in civil wars. And kind of like the Spanish Civil War is one that Tim Pool talks about. But like if you look at like the one I like is Yugoslavia. And like that whole area broke up. Like it was so split up during that Civil War. It ended up breaking up into what? The Czech Republic, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kosovo, Slovakia, Slovenia. Like it just broke into 100 pieces because that's how a civil war is actually fought. You know what I mean? So like if there was a civil war, if you drew any kind of like actual lines, what would it look like? Well, I mean, sure, you'd carve off the West Coast, you'd carve off the East Coast, like the Northeast rather, and what, Illinois? And then in other parts of the country, it'd be pretty much big cities. You know what I mean? So it'd be really chaotic until one side or the other started exerting force to create clear lines. So the argument that Tim Pool's, it's not even an argument, just the observation he's making, like the leftists are already on the attack all over the place. And they have been for quite some time. Like, I mean, I love that they talk about like the January 6th thing, but do they forget during the Summer of Love that Antifa tore down the fences of the White House and was moving in and tried to raise the church, the national church right there in Washington, D.C., but Trump said, stop it, and the police stopped it. Right. And it was thousands and thousands of them. You know, it's a funny thing when you tell the police to stop it, they stop it. Yet, they made no attempt to stop what was going on January 6th. Why? Because if this was the argument that Tim was making, if Trump had just said, okay, let him torch the White House. They go in and torch the White House, nobody votes Democrat ever again.
Right.
So in reality, like, so how do they try and orchestrate making sure Trump doesn't become president again? They march their fake operation on the Capitol. Mm-hmm. So and then and that's actually like been covered in like Tucker's coverage. There were literally two groups. there was a group that was just standing there very peacefully, not doing anything wrong. And then on the other end, there were people breaking windows and stuff like that. And that was the group where they had FBI agents pulling people through the doors. That was the side of the building where the cops had to open the door for them.
Mm-hmm.
That was the side of the building where all the people were fighting. That was the side of the building where Ray Epps was out there telling people that they have to get inside the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
So funny, it looks an awful lot like the feds fomented the violence, and the actual peaceful protesters were on the other side actually peacefully protesting.
Right.
Like there was the one person that got acquitted of all charges during the trials because there was literally video of the cop inviting them to come in when they were just standing there on the far side of the barricade.
Right.
So how many of those people were literally invited in that way? And then like a lot of what, I mean, that being said, Tucker in all of his coverage, he's not just painting it like it was all good people, it was all peaceful, blah, blah, blah. The way he's covering it is he's actually like, he leads every broadcast about it, showing the violence in the video that they've gone through.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like, this is the violent stuff that was bad that was going on this side, but this is what was really going on. And then the QAnon shaman who got sentenced to over 4 years in prison.
Yeah.
Like literally they show him not doing anything bad, literally getting guided around by the police. The police were trying to open doors for him. If they were locked, they'd guide him to the next place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he got 4 years for what? Taking a guided tour?
Right. Which people normally take before COVID anyways.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you remember seeing anything of him breaking into anything, breaking anything, destroying anything?
Nope. I remember seeing him saying that we have to be peaceful.
So it's unfortunate it's going to be 2 years before he gets a pardon.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, but the mainstream media, they're like literally like, they're playing the same video footage that they've been playing for like 2 years. We've seen it all.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're just acting like Tucker's just like making up all the peaceful shit. But it's there on video. Everybody can see it.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody knew. There's 40,000 hours of tape. They showed like a curated like 10 hours of tape. Like, what's the 39,990 hours that they didn't want people seeing? Well, we're starting to see, yeah, there was some bad stuff on it, but most of it was just people that were obviously just protesting peacefully. It's crazy. Including, yeah, our buddy there.
Maniac.
And what's the cop doing? Oh, let's go.
Yeah, hey, come on in.
I don't see the officer trying to stop them. There's an officer behind them. There's an officer in front of them. I don't see him trying to stop them. I don't see him trying to get him out of the building there.
Mm-mm.
So, like, yeah, it's kind of crazy bullshit. So, yeah, it's been kind of interesting, like, catching the clips. Like, I mean, again, I don't really, like, watch Tucker. I don't watch Fox News because they are another, at this point, they're, like, 30 years old. They're establishment media, too.
Mm-hmm.
They've got their own agenda. So I'm just like catching like clips of what's going on. And like some of the shit Tucker says is just ridiculous. And some of the shit, it's just like, huh. You know what I mean?
Very thought-provoking.
Yeah. So by the way, we got permission to share their videos. So like on the next show on Saturday, I'm going to play some videos from, what is it called? Spirit Science. Like, so it's very, very interesting. Like, and it just made me think of it because Tucker went on his rant about there being UFOs. I think that's all, like, just a red herring from the government, like, trying to distract from everything else.
Oh, yeah.
But it's actually...
telling me that Russia claimed they shot down a UFO or something. There was a video on the internet about them shooting down a fucking UFO. I'm like, the person that told me that, I was like, do you really believe that? He's like, I don't know. Who knows what's real now? I'm like, yeah, right?
Yeah, because every fucking conspiracy theory for the last 30 years is true.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it really hard to tell. Anyway, so yeah, on Saturday, I'm going to, like, have some of that. Just because, like, I want to get, like, yours and Brian's, like, opinions, what you guys actually think of it. Because it's, like, some really interesting stuff. but it kind of implies that like the Atlanteans and the Martians are where aggressive male and passive female like personalities. It's really hard to explain, but it's really kind of interesting. And it also like jumps into like all these structures that they're finding along the ley lines. And like, did you know that now they're like now the way that they're actually looking for these pyramids and the reason they're finding so many right now? Do you know why? They're searching along the magnetic ley lines now.
Oh yeah.
So they're literally searching where the ley lines intersect, and as you create a point of power, they look there, boom, there's a temple. Like, we've only been able to detect the magnetic fields from Earth for like 50 years. How the fuck were they detecting them 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago? I always say the name wrong. It's like Obegle Tepe or something like that. Teotihuacan, Machu Picchu.
Well, did you ever go to that place in California where you could fucking take a marble and set it at the bottom of this track, and then the marble would go up it?
Not in California, but there's actually a couple places like that.
Yeah. Like,
So
it's just weird stuff that happens in the universe, man. Even in the world.
yeah, it's crazy. So, but I mean, I think it's amazing that they're like now finding thousands and thousands of pyramids by looking along the magnetic ley lines that we've only known about for 50 years. And of course, these include pyramids that we can't build to this day. Like, we keep insisting that they're using wet sand and logs, but we can't do it. Like, they're saying 200 people did it with wet sands and logs, and it's just like, yeah, I don't think so. Especially considering, like, back then all the people were supposedly, like, 5 feet tall. So, and it's, I don't know, there's a lot of interesting theories out there going around about, like, not the origins of man and the legends of man, and, like, the fact that, like, Atlantis was actually, like, the Egyptian, like, origin, like, myth, like, kind of, like, states that they were the remnants of a previous more advanced civilization. And like Plato's like description of Atlantis actually came from Egypt because his like grandfather went to Egypt. And that's where he actually got the myth of Atlanta. And then of course you got the whole thing with the you weren't on the show when I talked about this spot here. The Eye of Africa that like looks for all intents and purposes like that's actually like that's the site of the Atlantean capital.
You know what that looks like? It looks like I dropped a chocolate ball in my freaking coffee.
How does that look like a chocolate ball?
No, like after it had already gone under.
I got you. So actually, the white is salt and the brown is sand, and then it's got the different colored lava rocks and volcanic rocks that are described in the different kinds of rocks that were supposed to be present in the Atlantean capital. So kind of interesting. So the spirit science one, like listening to it, I'm just like, but it's actually kind of an interesting story. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of strikes me as like L. Ron Hubbardish with his people, but the like again the idea being that I didn't even check. Maybe it's actually like sponsored by the Scientologists or something. But it's very interesting, and like it starts breaking down how the gods of the different areas are. I'll play some of it. It's interesting. It's fascinating, and we got official permission to use their content and like share it on our channel. So they actually asked that we share it with them so they can share the link to our show and find out our comments. So that's kind of cool.
Well, I guess we should probably watch our language.
That's spirit science, man, not God.
Yeah, but they don't. I'm sure that they have an audience that is
A little more sensitive to language.
age appropriate. You know what I'm saying?
Word, word. But we're still not putting on ours that it's made for children or anything like that.
Right.
So, anyways, but of course, you know, you heard the story about this guy too, right?
Oh yeah.
He's been fired now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he got fired. So it turns out during the whole thing that the school board was supporting him, but they like tipped off like some news agency where he lived and everything, so they could follow him. And they like followed him, and he went into the house with his big tits, which he's now claiming are real because he has gigantomastia.
Yeah.
And then like he comes out like dressed like a dude.
And his neighbor was saying that he comes out as he only goes dressed up like a woman when he goes to school.
Or well, he does actually like take walks like that and stuff like that to like present the image, but that he also lives most of his life as a man.
He's a
So
troll.
anyway, but hey, according to transgender ideology, he can change his mind about his gender at any point in time. So maybe he changes his mind back and forth.
Right. He's gender fluid.
There you go. Use their terminology against him. He's gender fluid.
Yeah, leave him alone.
When he's at school where they were threatening to fire him for toxic masculinity, he feels like a woman.
Right. And then
So the whole
when they
thing.
try and get rid of him for being a fucking crazy woman, he identifies as a man.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of Gutfeld's clips on it yet because again I don't watch Fox, but Gutfeld's been like covering that guy constantly ever since. And so like I can't wait to finally hear what he had to say on it. But because he was betting all along that it was a giant troll. Like from the very beginning. Like that he was like just making a mockery of it. Of course, some of them pointed out that it's still not okay because he's wearing giant fetish breasts in front of students. Like so that it's yeah, so that it's not like okay because he's doing it to prove a point or anything like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I mean it's interesting. Like it's fascinating. But we'll see what happens. I'm still curious. But of course, don't forget our president, Emperor Palpatine. Anyway, that fucking guy. You were on the show with me and Brian were talking about it. Did you see his story about the nurse?
I don't know.
Oh my god! Like he had told this fucking crazy ass story about he had this nurse who was a military nurse who learned some shit that you don't learn in the military, and then talking about her blowing on him and like whispering in his ear and then like bringing her pillow from home. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Like, but with Joe, is this like a real creepy story? Or is this like just him making shit up thinking it makes him sound good?
Maybe a little bit of both. I mean, honestly.
Like, I mean, if you think about it, he always tells these stories to make it sound like he's empathetic. But when like shit's actually happening, like, oh, I don't know, say a toxic chain derailment in a small town in Ohio, like he won't even fucking talk about it or acknowledge that it happens.
That was Trump's fault. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, it was Trump's fault. Yeah.
All the regulations that Trump took away had nothing to do with the train derailment.
Mm-hmm.
There was like 3 people on the train. The fucking heat sensor went off. So what happened? We don't know. And trains derail all the time, apparently.
Well, they do like 3 a day.
Yeah, like literally, you just had one down in Houston, like shortly after that one in Ohio.
Dude, we had 2 in Houston in the last month.
Right.
So, like, fucking kind of crazy. We also get tanker trucks. Have you seen how they build the freeways here? Like one big, huge looping lane, hundreds of miles or hundreds of feet up in the air.
Yeah.
Like for the interchanges.
I'm like,
Dude,
why?
they've had fucking toxic chemical spills on those things here.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So it's like,
That would be a
and
little
like,
easier. That's a little easier to contain than a train derailment, though.
except for the fact that everything here drains right off into a bayou,
Yeah,
so
but
it spreads so fast.
it takes a lot longer to get to that bayou.
I'm just saying. No,
I'm
it really
just
doesn't.
saying it's a lot easier to contain it on because they made it to where for the runoff for the rain, right? They irrigated it. Those bridges.
Well, no, like Houston's a swamp. Houston's a swamp.
Oh, I know.
So like all the bayous, like everything's made. Like you look through the neighborhoods, and like coming out of every subdivision, there's the pipes that take the runoff straight in, and you go and look anywhere a bayou comes anywhere near throwaways. There's tons of pipes where the shit like literally will spill into the drain and keep going.
What I'm saying, Rob, is I agree with you. It is terrible because it is a fucking swamp there. But if it happens up on that fucking huge ass overpass, the odds of it getting down there, well, it should, you would think. The odds of it getting there before it gets cleaned up should be pretty slim. But again, this is the government we're talking about. And
Well, and well, and then you got to remember, we always get tropical rain. So it rains so heavy, any water up there drains off almost instantly.
Right.
So, like, literally, like, when a chemical spill happens up there, it immediately floods down all over the place. Like, some on the freeway down below, some on the neighborhoods down below. It's crazy.
Right.
And you can just watch when it rains. Like, when you drive underneath one of the freeway overpasses, one of the big interchanges like that. Dude, it's like, no, it's not even like that. It's like somebody's dumping out a bathtub on your car.
It's like a waterfall.
Yeah, exactly. It's fucking crazy. And so, like, my thought is, like, yeah, tanker fucking tips over on that. Yep, that's how the chemicals are coming down. Like a fucking waterfall. A fucking chemical fall.
Yep.
So, I don't know. It's just fucking crazy. But, you know, I mean, we can't have fucking pipelines, like, you know, keeping this thing on a designated path where you can kind of, like, steer it around, like, habited areas and make it so you can easily contain a spill or a leak. Yeah, you can't have that. Because pipelines are evil.
Yep.
Unless the Russians want them.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't really get the point of the story.
What the pro-Ukrainians that took out the pipeline?
Well, I just saw that they like stopped a ship that might have been involved in the blow up, but I didn't get a chance to look more into the story.
Oh, the yacht that they were.
Oh, is that what it was? They're saying it was a yacht?
They're trying to turn the focus away from that dude's story that wrote about the CIA doing fucking training over there.
Right. Well, okay, but again, the Russians and the U.S. both had training, and NATO rather had training exercises in the area. So people keep saying that like Putin wouldn't have blown up his own pipelines. Dude, Putin had already shut them off.
So the thing is though,
like all the gas was going to be replaced from Norway.
If it was Russia, you can bet your ass that they would be telling us about it right now. And they know who did it. They just won't tell us.
Yeah. I would think
if it was Russia, we would know.
Yeah, they would be telling us exactly how Russia did it.
Exactly. But because I don't believe that it was, we won't ever know until maybe 30 years from now.
Yeah, because if Russia really wanted to fuck with us, they'd be clipping undersea cables for telecom and shit. Honestly, I mean, that's what they'd be doing.
And they got other shit that they're focused on.
Mm-hmm. Like taking over the world and arm in arm with China.
You're right. And that's not working out exactly like they planned, apparently.
Right. And while I do think that that oh shoot, I didn't realize it was already 9 o'clock. Well, I don't think that they're exactly going to give us the true tale of what's going on over in Ukraine, and a lot of times it sounded like pro-Ukraine hyper propaganda, but it's obvious that Russia's getting kicked in the teeth over there.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's so obvious, but that's kind of like how Russia does. They like start off wars getting their teeth kicked in, and they either overwhelm the people by force, by flattening cities and shit like that, but it's not working against Ukraine. Like, that's how they got Chechnya under control. That's how they got Syria under control. They're trying to do it to Ukraine, and Ukraine's just fighting even harder. Every city they flatten, like, just makes the Ukrainians more emboldened to fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, which is actually more like their campaign in Afghanistan. So, which didn't go that great for them, or like their campaigns against Germany, when Germany like penetrated into the Soviet Union and like started bogging down. Of course, first they bogged down in Ukraine in the mud during spring, and then they got bogged down again in the winter. It wasn't the Russians that did it, that beat them. It was the Russian winter. You know what I mean? So it was like, otherwise they were just getting their teeth kicked in at every exchange. Barely kept them out of St. Petersburg. Well, I mean, back then it was Leningrad. Barely kept him out of Stalingrad. Barely kept him out of Moscow. You know what I mean? So I don't know. So they're just really bad at war, and always have been. Like most. As a matter of fact, it's kind of funny. The most of the successful military campaigns that they had in their history under like Peter the Great and Catherine the Great, it wasn't the Russians that were like successful in those campaigns. It was actually the Kazakhs. So like the foreigners from the south that were fighting on behalf of the Russian Empire is actually what like got the victories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that one's such a hairy situation though, because like I don't know how that one, like I can't even predict how that one ends out, because I could see Putin losing his fucking mind and nuking Ukraine. I could also see like somebody in his government getting tired of him and popping him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I could see it going either way. Like I don't know that he's given many people that many opportunities, but like he's got to depend on somebody, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's it. So it's like what's going on over there is crazy. But what is obvious though is that Biden doesn't want him to actually win the war.
Yeah. Biden
because if he did,
Biden wants a world war, is what Biden wants.
Okay, let's face it. Barack wants a world war.
There you go. Good call.
I still think Barack Obama was a Manchurian candidate. I think he's a Muslim. Like he went to school in a madras, and you can't go to school in a madras unless you're a Muslim. And I think he was a sleeper agent. Like I don't think things were right because of the whole Arab Spring thing. I think might have like kind of like his foreign policy got kind of like fucked with on that, but that's why he was like going and kissing ass to the Iranians and shit. And like, I don't know. I could see he wants one world order, but I think he wants the Muslims to somehow end up in control, but minimum socialist, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But once you get the socialists in control, then like all you have to do is get the top of the power, and you can bleed the beliefs down to everybody because you tell them what to believe, and boom, first the socialists take over, and then they make everybody believe in Allah. That's my QAnon conspiracy that Obama was a Manchurian candidate for an Islamic nation.
Could be.
So, but what I do find interesting though is with Israel starting to give weapons to Ukraine, and as many times as Russia has threatened to attack the people that are supplying them, and they've got bases right up there in Syria. Like one of the lines from the Bible is the armies of the land of Magog tried to destroy Israel from the north, and God struck the weapons out of the air with the light of God, and they just instituted this like laser defense system
Called the light of God.
well, I don't know what they call it.
Probably the light of God.
Yeah, but it's lasers, and even Nostradamus had some predictions around that, like Israel being destroyed by Russia. So it's crazy, considering by that time the Holy Land was under the control of the infidels. Funny that we considered the Muslims infidels, and now they consider us infidels.
But do we really consider them infidels?
No, during the Crusades.
Oh.
Yeah, because
An infidel is anybody that believes in a god different than you.
yeah, but so like I mean, it's just funny that like
People who
no matter which way, throughout the entire like course of recorded history, somebody's considered the Holy Land to be held by infidels. So that's kind of like crazy. Anyway, it's been an hour, so we should wrap this up. We'll get back, at the very least, we'll get to Saturday, get back on Saturday. But make sure you like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell so you can get annoyed every time we get on and be annoying.
And so that Democrat, perishes.
Yeah, every time you click the notification bell, Democrat goes to hell.
Well, see, I'm not gonna condemn anyone to that, but
Oh, I am. They're all evil.
oh, they are.
They're either evil or ill-informed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. One or the other. Okay, one of three options: evil, ill-informed, or idiots.
Or all three.
Evil, ill-informed
They could
idiots.
be-
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah, evil, ill-informed idiots.
Bro, like literally, you got 13% of the population, 95% of them vote for Democrats, despite the fact that they've been in control of the areas that black people are suffering for the last 200 years.
Oh, but that's conservatives' fault for not letting
Nope.
the Democrats do everything that they want.
The Democrats do everything that they want in
but I'm just
California,
saying
New York, yeah.
That's what the Democrats say. Well, it's the Republicans. They're the reason why I can't spend more money on this problem.
Well, but no matter how much money that they throw, any program that they come up with to help black people, the money gets siphoned off and doesn't ever actually go to the black people.
Nope. They do things to black Americans that I can't believe. And
the bottom line is, we all know when you give somebody a handout, they fall down. They don't get up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the government tries so hard to keep black people on the teat, so they can keep them down.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, y'all have a great night. Brad, thanks for joining. Too bad Tons of Fun didn't join us today. Maybe he'll be on Saturday. But y'all have a great night.
Yes, everybody, stay free.